God of the universe, maker of the stars. Who am I that you would know my name?
Well, welcome to episode 105 of Life on Purpose. And yeah, we're still missing somebody. Alex is just messaged us a few minutes ago, and life has thrown him another curveball tonight. That's what happens when you have a family. And so, God willing, the Hebrew Bezrat Hashem, he will be back with us. But until then, it says where two or more are gathered in his name, he will be in the midst of it. Aren't you glad, Jared, that he didn't say two or 300?
Yeah, that would be very intimidating for us introverts.
We met yesterday at Life Assembly with our group for the Yom Teruah. Okay, this is my fourth broadcast today, by the way. Okay, so I'm maybe a little bit punchy, but I was kind of, Alex was there, and I said, what a great place to be. I've been given a podcast with two of the most introverted people that I know in the whole world. So all I have to do is find the right button I found for you. And tonight we want to go to maybe kind of a different place than we have for a little while. And the word says, draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. What are those words? What does it mean to you, Jared, to draw near to him?
Oh boy, are you asking what the word itself draw means, or are you asking like just generally what it means to draw near to him?
I'm talking about Jared. I'm talking about Jared and Aurora. You as a husband and wife, you as an individual. What does it mean? What does it say to you to I am going to try to draw near to him?
For me, a lot of times it's about trying to find that quiet place in the chaos of life,
Hmm.
the prayer closet, so to speak.
Okay. So do you find, I think that I know I do. Do you find that there's times in life that you just kind of look around and go, wait a minute, where is he? Did I lose him somewhere?
Oh, it certainly feels like that, especially if you've dealt with as much death and stuff as I've dealt with.
Yeah, you have dealt with a lot. You've had the death of your sister, the death of your mom. And in the process of that, sometimes it is when you're in the midst of all that upheaval and things, it seems like you have to really dive in there a little bit harder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, another thing is, I think it was C.S. Lewis who said, God whispers to us in our joy, but he shouts to us in our pain.
Wow. I think that's so true. My grandmother of blessed memory, and she's, let's see, nope, other shoulder there. Yeah. And when you're looking at the camera and everything is backwards. My grandmother was really a stable person in my life. Growing up with uh, uh, an alcoholic father, growing up in a home that was separated, my parents divorced, my grandmother was always there. Now, the truth is that she outlived I think four of her children. My mother was the only one that outlived my grandmother. And every single one of her children died a horrific death. One of them in a fire, two in car accidents. Everything. And when I moved to North Florida, I had this kind of open ticket to the whole county because I was Lona Langston's grandson. And in all of the the bad that you would have seen in her life, everyone said to me, "Your grandmother was just the stability of faith for me in life because I saw what she could go through." So I think, we, I don't, nobody likes pain, do we?
No, we hate it and try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. But is it not true that that's a lot of times where you find a greater relationship?
Yep, it's very true.
Okay. So when we find ourselves, I was thinking about again, we were really expecting and hoping for Alex to be on tonight with us, but maybe next week he can add a little bit to it. I was thinking about a kind of a cute little story the other day, and I guess it's cute. Maybe it can be classified as a dad joke. Um,
Oh, I like those.
okay, I don't necessarily, but because a lot of them are terrible. Um, is about a couple, and back in those days where I remember having a bench seat in a car. Okay, I remember the first time I saw a bucket seat. Now, if people don't know what a bench seat looks like, it's basically if you take the rear seat and move it to the front. That's what we had. We had two seats that were exactly the same. And the story was told about a man and woman were in their pickup truck and they're driving down the road, and the wife is seated over there, and this is, we didn't use seat belts back then, and she starts complaining to her husband, and she says, "Honey, I just remembering back to the days that we dated." And how close we were, and how I mean, we would snuggle as we're driving down the road, and you'd have your arm around me, and I just felt so close to you. But now, I mean, look at us, and the husband just kind of uh, looked over and said, "Well, I didn't move."
Mm,
Mm. So is it, I mean, that story's kind of silly, but it actually has some truth in it that the Almighty is always there. He's always stable, but he says,
yep,
"Draw near to me." So it is our responsibility to take that step, is it not?
yep. It's uh, it's only love if both parties are consenting. It's not love if one party has to knock you upside the head and drag you.
Hmm. So when he said, how do we tie in the words of Yeshua in John chapter 14 when he says, "If you love me, keep my commandments"? How does people don't understand how keeping the commandments, the instructions, actually tie to love?
Yeah, that's a good one because I would hope that well, actually, yeah, everybody has parents, so they should kind of know if you love your parents, you listen to your parents. I mean, if you love your spouse, I mean, there's going to be things you don't do to them because you love them. So it's kind of the same when you're in a relationship with Yah. I mean, if you love him, you're going to want to do what he tells you. You're going to want to not hurt him, or rather hurt his feelings, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And so you've heard me say that the difference between God and your wife is that he came with an instruction book.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you now, you've been married a while. Do you now understand that a little bit more
Oh, yeah.
than the first time I said it to you? So how many things, you've been married, what, just over a year, right?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Okay. Well, I just put 44, we got 44 years. And I posted that picture of us 44 years ago, and I'm not sure which one got more traction, Kathy's army uniform or my hair.
Yeah,
Uh,
you had the Bob Ross thing going on.
okay, I
Happy
don't
little
even know
tree
who.
here.
That's what Barry said. I don't even know who Bob Ross is.
Oh, he was a painter on PBS who'd be like, just put a little happy little tree here, or a little happy little bush there.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Go
I
look up
do
a
know.
Bob Ross video.
Okay, okay. I do know that somebody saw that and posted a picture of Pat Benatar too, and said that's what Kathy looked like. But you in a year, I mean, how many things have you just had to say, I'm going to make that change because I need to be the one that does that.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
I mean, can you figure out a wild example of that? I know I'm putting you on the spot on a lot of stuff.
Well, when you talk about making changes and stuff, I had my own place, and then my wife moves in with all of her stuff. So yeah, a lot of changes get made because it's like, yeah, get rid of that, get rid of that, so you can put this here, put this there. Yeah, you make a lot of changes when you move in together.
So you have to prioritize them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's not nothing is yours anymore. It's all ours. So kind of the deaths to self thing.
And in a society that's kind of me oriented, that doesn't go on real easy, does it?
No.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I mean, with that being said, the thing is that the Almighty doesn't need to change. He is perfect in this relationship. But you and we're the ones that have to go through changes. And, we can't just look at him and say, I read that commandment. I really think that you need to change that for my benefit. He's like, no, I'm leaving it there for your benefit. And so love with the Almighty is, to me, there's an aspect of it of, of love, worship, obedience. All of those things are kind of tied together as one.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's say that, you wake up one day and you're like, yeah, I just don't really feel like I'm where I should be with him. Yeah, we're in these days of the fall festivals, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Yom Kippur is known as that day of that's set aside that we spend with him. I teach it a little bit different because I don't think that it's a day that we should be coming before him and telling him how bad we are, but instead telling him how good he is. Okay,
Hmm.
just a different aspect of that. Um, so with that being said, when we if you have that morning, you wake up and it's like, I really am not feeling like I have put the Father in the place that I should. How would you give us some kind of a line out of how would you then what would you do to get back to that place?
Examine the things I'm doing and what are priorities in my life. Because I find that my mind typically fixates on like four or five things. And if he's not one of those four or five things, then Houston, we have a problem.
Hmm. Okay. I, give me some more of that. That I'm 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 searching for something here in Jared that I know is there, and I don't know how to find that button. Um, so you're saying that you've got these things that they're going to be in your head, but we really need to make sure that everything else is driven by him being a priority.
Of course.
But now let's say that we had a week ago somebody has been listening casually or whatever to Charlie Kirk. And with his death, they're like, I think that I need to become serious about God. What would they do? I mean, this is the problem that I have right now in that there needs to be not a formula, but there needs to be some help. You don't take a baby and just toss them into the world and say survive. No, you have to take them through the steps of them being able to survive on their own. So that person that's kind of new and it's like, okay, what do I do? I got a Bible in front of me. What do I do with it? What
Well,
are some ideas?
well, I think the first thing they should do is they should probably go find some other believers to help them. Because even if they sit down and read that, they're going to have a lot of questions and it's going to be really hard for them to figure out all on their own. Secondly, they need people so they can have some sort of accountability. Because that's a really, really hard thing when you're trying to be by yourself and you're trying to figure it out yourself, you have no accountability. No one to be like, hey, why are you doing this? Come on back. So I really think that people just need to find other like-minded believers or specifically older and smarter ones to kind of help guide them and mentor them because you're the sum of the people you hang around. And if you're hanging around idiots, you're not going to get any smarter.
You heard it. You heard it here, right from Jared. Now, I want to point out that the first two things that Jared said had to do with being around people, which is totally out of your personality.
Yep. Funny how
Mm-hmm.
that works.
Mm-hmm. So we have to come out of ourselves. In order to become something that we're not, we have to do what we've never done. And that can be a difficult thing. You talk about being around people that are older and wiser. The other night at in Colombia, I made the opportunity. Actually, it wasn't scheduled, so I decided to see if I could schedule it. That after I talked to the congregation as a whole, I said to the youth, "Hey, I'll meet you all over in the corner. We'll sit and talk for a while." And we started talking about this thing of if all you're doing is hanging out with people, and I wasn't really the one that brought it up. They did. And they said, if all I'm hanging out with is the people that are my age, I got a problem because all you're going to have is the wisdom. If you're 18 years old and you hang out with 18-year-olds, you're going to get the wisdom of 18-year-olds, which is probably not a whole lot of wisdom, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
you're scraping the bottom of the wisdom barrel there and coming up empty.
The other side is that I've said this many times to youth. I need you guys. I mean, I need to hang out with people. Guy the other night that your name came up in the midst of the conversation, Jared. I mentioned you, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know Jared." And Elijah has been. I've known this young man since he was a baby, and we started talking. And I mean, he said what has happened to him since the death of Charlie Kirk is he is having more conversations with people that are older and wiser and saying, I need this in my life. So very important, right?
Yeah.
So here's the typical thing. Okay, I need to read my Bible. And I need to hang out with other people. But are we really missing a little bit more here?
Well, there's definitely the aspect of prayer.
Okay.
You should definitely be, like I said, finding that quiet space to talk to the Father and also to try and listen to what He has for you. But typically, his speaking is going to be either through Scripture or through those older people that you put in your life as mentors.
All right. Here's one that let's run with this for a moment here. People are asking, I want God to speak to me. Now,
Well, he wrote you a letter, 66 actually.
okay, but that's fair. So he's already done a lot of speaking.
Yep,
So if what I'm thinking is if we're asking him to speak to us, but yet we have not spent time with the words he's already said, then why would he bother to say anything else?
that's very true.
Fair assessment.
Yeah, and the other part of that is God cannot contradict himself. So I
Okay.
think a lot of times people are wanting him to speak to them personally, hoping that he will say something opposite of scripture. And he's just not going to do that.
I've met that person. I've met
Was
a
it me?
number.
Was it me?
No, no, no. It was, but I've met people that literally walked up to me and said, "Well, God told me," and they would
Oh,
tell me what God said, and I'm like, "But that's exactly opposite from what the scripture says." And then it's like, how do you argue with God told me?
oh, I just had that argument like 2 weeks ago with the Mormon,
Okay.
and very simply, my methodology for this was okay. You have Second Timothy 3:16. All Scripture is inspired by God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you have First John chapter 4, where we're told to test the spirits, because not all spirits are coming from God, and there's many deceiving spirits. So you might have heard from a spirit, but it might not have been the spirit. And to recognize whether or not what you're hearing is from God, you need to verify that with God's inspired, breathed out word. And if you're telling me God told you something opposite from this, then I'm telling you he didn't say that.
So that brings up a point that I believe that there are three voices that we hear in our mind, in our spirit, what however you would want to describe that. Number one, we can hear the voice of God. Yes, absolutely. I think that people expect him to say much more than he probably does because they're going on YouTube. And one of my pet peeves is these people, you know where I'm going. These my pet peeve is that these people on YouTube that are saying, God said this to me and God said this to me. And it's like they've got this ongoing conversation with him all the time. Okay. Tell me what's going through your mind there.
Well, first and foremost, don't get your theology from YouTube shorts and 30-second TikToks.
Hmm.
Because people will do that to me. People will literally send me videos to, they will ask me theological questions. I will give them my best biblical answer. And naturally, they won't like it. So then they will send me YouTube videos. And you watch the YouTube video and you just kind of go, so what's this guy's credentials? Like, do you know him? Is he a theologian? Or did you just click on the first video that affirmed your position? And you start giving objections to the things they say, and it's like, did you even watch what you sent me?
Hmm.
So yeah, just there's a lot of problems with the
Hmm.
YouTube theology.
So we can hear the voice of God, yes. I can tell you that as long as I have been a follower of him, I can probably give you on one hand, with a few fingers left over, the times that I believe I actually heard his voice, not in an audible sense, but a voice that was there that was unmistakably not mine. Okay. So if we're chasing God told me all the time, I think that is a place that we can be led into deception very fast.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, when I got married, you recommended a book to me called The Five Love Languages.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
maybe
think the word
God,
was, I don't know that the word was recommend. I think I used the word required.
okay. But the thing with that is, some people will be like, God speaks to me audibly sometimes, and it's just like that's really cool, but that's not been my experience. So I think that different people are going to have different love languages with God. So I mean, don't beat yourself up if you don't have an audible voice from him all the time because it's he might be
Oh,
trying to talk to you a different way.
okay, wait a minute. Okay, now we've hit the place in the program that you've made me start to go, hmm, this is why I hang out with Jared. I've recommended and required that book, I don't know how many times through marriage counseling. I've read it myself. Um, I probably should go back and read it again at time more than I do and refer to it. But I've never thought about it in the manner of it's always been between a husband and wife or between friends. I've never thought about it, Jared, in the manner that you just said, that each of us does have a love language. Not only does our should our spouse know that love language, but but we should understand that he understands that concept too.
I would think so. I would think he invented that concept. So,
Okay.
but
Do
he's
you,
also a very personal God too. So,
he is. He is. I mean, okay, what are the five love languages? It's touch, gifts, time, words.
oh, I know I'm forgetting the last one. Acts of service.
Yeah, I think it is acts of
Yeah,
service. Yeah.
yeah.
And so, I mean, if you don't understand a person's love language, you can do something for them. And like my love, the way that I show is acts of service. I'm married to somebody that's kind of the opposite there, and I'm actually married to somebody that is operating in the love language that I am the worst at. I won't tell you which one it is, but it's common to most guys. Okay. Um, and so just to understand that the father, okay, you're making sense now, Jared, because I'm
That's
going
something I
back.
rarely do.
Okay, no. You're selling yourself short because as I kind of quickly, briefly think over what really just excites me about him, it's just when he does little things that cause me to say, I don't know how many times I've looked up at the heavens and went, really? Really? You just orchestrated that? Really? And you can just kind of see this smile on his face in a way. So, okay, so we need to start communicating with him. And if we're asking him to speak to us all the time, but he's showing us acts of love, then we can actually miss what he's doing.
I think it's very easy to miss what he's doing a lot of times. And I think, well, I was talking with an atheist the other day, and they admitted
Where
to
do you
me
get all
on
this stuff?
it just happens. They admitted to you're gonna love this. They admitted to me that they believe there is a God, but they did not believe that God was the least bit concerned with how they lived their lives or anything. And it's just like you don't think that he's personal? Like what is the point of inventing all of this and creating you if he doesn't want anything to do with you? Like
Hmm.
that would just be like it's like completely like that'd be just that's stupid. Like I cannot believe that someone would think that. So I think that we have a very personal God who does really care about us because he obviously created us. And if he's personal, he's going to do he's going to communicate with us, or at least want to, and he's going to try to do things like active services, like you just said.
Hmm. I saw this verse. I actually used this at in Columbia. I'd never. This is one of those verses you're reading through and you're going, "Wait a minute, when they put that in there?" And it goes along with a lot of things that you know that I teach. It's in Psalm. What is it? Psalm 89, verse 47 or 48, depending on your translation. It says, "Remember how little time I have. Um, was it for no purpose that you created all humanity?" I mean, that's what that person was saying. He's saying, okay, I believe there's a God, I believe there's a creator, but I don't believe he had any purpose for doing this. Uh, that doesn't make sense at all. Well, how'd it go? How'd the conversation go?
Well, the thing is, they don't want God to be personal or care about what they're doing because if God cares about what they're doing, that means it goes back to if you love me, keep my commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't
Hmm.
want to.
Okay. Now back to where we were, where I started at
Yes.
is there's three voices. Number one is God's voice. Number two is the voice of the enemy.
That's a
You're
loud one.
okay. Yeah, I know because I've been around you and in your life for quite some time. Uh, for Jared, that's a loud voice, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
And one that you constantly deal with.
constantly. Like, it's easy to read a scripture, misunderstand it, and then start feeling condemned. So that's a very loud voice.
So how do you recognize that it's his voice? Is it just because of the condemning nature of it?
Yeah, largely. It's anytime it feels like accusations.
Okay. Yeah,
Because I
I've go ahead.
was gonna say, because I mean, if it's conviction, there's you would think there'd be a easy way to address it or fix it. But when it's accusations, you don't really have any sort of foresight of where to go with it or what to do with it. You just kind of sit there just feeling kind of it's kind of depressed.
I think that was part of the first conversation you and I ever had
Probably.
was about condemnation and conviction. And
Hmm.
I teach it that condemnation is like a dead end. Conviction, there's a U-turn.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're going down the road and you see, and you're like, wow, I'm going the wrong direction, and you see a U-turn, then you can turn around and go the other way, which is teshuvah, to repent. But but conviction is there's no way around it. We a month ago, my wife, as most know, had a hip replacement surgery, and I was coming back home at the second evening, and I was exhausted. I was I mean emotionally because of all that had gone on, I was totally just wasted. And I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I look up, and there's this road construction, and I'm like, I don't remember the road construction from when I came through here yesterday. So I'm driving and driving and driving. I don't have my GPS on. And I looked up and it said, and there's this tunnel. I'm thinking, there's no tunnel on this road. I go through the tunnel and, or right when I got up to the tunnel, it says, "Welcome to Tennessee." I'm like, oh no. So I quickly hit my GPS and there's road construction there. I had to drive at 20 to 30 miles an hour for 6 more miles before I could find somewhere to turn around. That is conviction. That is condemnation. When you figure out, wait a minute, maybe I'm going the wrong direction, but there's no way to get out of this. There's no way to pull off. I can't get over to the other side. There's a wall there. There's a mountain on this side. I am trapped. And that is the voice of the enemy.
Yep.
The third voice is by far the most difficult and by far the 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 one that I think personally trips most people up the most, and that's our own voice.
Yeah, instead of doing theology, you're doing meology, like we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Okay. And the reason is because my voice can sound like God's voice. My voice can sound like the enemy's voice. You don't know anything about self-condemnation, do you?
Not at all.
Neither do I. I mean, never even possible. So, though it's important to understand. So, how do we differentiate in the end between those three voices?
That is something I wrestled with for a few years, and I will let you know the day I have the answer. But but
What
typically
are you
though,
learning about that?
well, first and foremost, God does not contradict himself. So if it's contradicting what God says, it's not from God, first and foremost. One trap I kind of fell into is kind of assuming if it sounds like it's not miserable, it's probably false because it's not miserable. And I had to like walk myself back from that. Like, not everything you're supposed to do is going to be miserable.
Oh, yeah. I there's one that gets me. Um, I did this I've done this at youth camp and various places that, you go to a camp and, well, hey guys, tomorrow's fun day. Okay. So what you just said is that if tomorrow is fun day and that's the day that we're off doing anything and everything like, rafting and rappelling and climbing the wall and, whatever else, so that's fun day. But these other days that we're going to focus on God, that's not fun.
Ouch. And well, I'm just thinking, we're talking about, relationship with God and
I wasn't
how
trying
bad is it?
condemnation there, by the way.
No, I'm just thinking like how bad does it hurt if the person, God you're trying to have a relationship with, you're not my fun day. There's nothing fun about you. Like that's kind of an ouch.
Yeah. It'd be like looking at your spouse and going, telling your friends in the afternoon, oh, I can't go out and do anything. I got to spend the evening with my wife. It's a date night. You know, it's amazing how I had a guy years ago used to call it stinking thinking. It's amazing how stinking our thought process can be.
Mhm.
I mean, why is it that we don't think God's fun?
I don't know. I think maybe a lot of people just have a misconception of him. Maybe they had a rough childhood and they don't understand how to view a father, or maybe they just had some bad church experiences where even when they're trying to walk with God, they subconsciously still have a lot of those bad images or bad misconceptions just bouncing around in their head.
Yeah.
That's the best answer I get to that question.
Well, when you actively look for him in your life, and I love what a friend of mine says quite often, brag on him,
Mhm.
make God look good.
Yep.
And I have found that the more I brag on him, the more fun I have. It is so overwhelming. I was telling somebody the other day about I bought a truck a number of years ago, and I had this exact truck, what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I mean, to the color, everything. And I was heading to Tennessee, and I went by in Murphy, North Carolina, and there was this truck there, and I was like, "Wow, that is beautiful. That's what I've been looking for." I didn't have time to stop. I came back by; they were closed. I'm like, okay, blow it out of your head. And so I ended up having to do the same trip about 2 weeks later. And I drove by, and this truck is still there. Like, wow, how could that be that that truck is still there? And so I didn't have time to stop on the way back. They were closed, but I pulled over. I looked at, wow, this is just, I mean, this is exactly what it was like my heart's desire. Okay. I think there's a verse on that.
Hmm.
And so I called the people and we made an appointment. I went back over there. We made the deal, felt good about it, everything. And the guy looked at me as I'm doing the paperwork and he said, I don't know why we couldn't sell this truck. He said, I've had this truck for a longest time. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful trucks I've ever seen, and we couldn't sell it. And I looked at him and said, well, I'm sorry, but the reason you couldn't sell it is because it was already mine and God wouldn't let you. This salesman goes, I mean, double take, triple take, whatever, sat back in his chair, and he said, sir, I'll be right back. He goes and gets the owner of the dealership and brings him in and introduces him to me and said, Mr. Clayton, would you mind telling my boss here, the owner of this store, what you just told me? And I got to tell him again. And it was just, I mean, talk about fun when you can go in your face with someone that, is a believer, not a believer, whatever, but you can brag on God to that point.
Hmm.
And I find that the more I do that, Jared, the more he operates in my life in things that people cannot call a coincidence.
That's very true. I kind of have a similar story with that Taurus scroll up there. I got Exodus, a little bit of Exodus chapter 3 written on leather found in Egypt from probably around 1200 AD.
Hmm.
Didn't know what it was when I got it, just knew it was supposedly a little piece of the Torah. Exodus chapter 3. And that has been one of my favorite go-to places in scripture for a long time.
Just happened to be
Hmm.
that piece. Yeah.
Yep.
And of course we have the infamous you meeting your wife.
Oh, of course. But I feel like we've done that story to death.
Yeah, we've done that one a few times. Anybody that hasn't heard it, just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, what am I saying? That when he says we need to kind of tie this up a little bit.
Okay.
When he says, "Draw near to me, and I'll draw near to you," I that it's not that he wants to be standoffish, but I think that I don't pretend to speak for him, but I think what it's saying is, why don't you show me that you're serious about this relationship?
Right, because you wouldn't want to marry or spend the rest of your life with someone who just was not serious about you at all.
People do it.
Oh, they do. And it doesn't usually work very well when they do it.
No, they're miserable. They spend the rest of
Hmm.
their life miserable.
Yep.
So to sum up everything on my end, for anybody that's out there right now, in the last few weeks, the events of the last week or so has caused you to say, I think I need to get more serious about my relationship with God. Uh, I would say to them this: He might ask you to prove that seriousness, that your thoughts are not just some fad. It's not, well, my friend is reading their Bible, so I guess I will.
Mhm.
My friend is attending a Bible study, so I guess I will. I think that verse, what it's saying to me is he's looking for people that are serious about a relationship, not because of somebody else, but because of him,
Mhm.
because they want to have that relationship with him. Give us some closing thoughts there.
I keep think as you're talking about this, I keep thinking about when Yeshua says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And to me, that goes back to love languages. Like, I'm a very kind of intellectual person, so it's very easy for me to love God with my mind. But there's other areas where it's not so easy.
Hmm.
And I need to focus on all those areas.
Well, so to love him with your whole being. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, guys, we this has not gone quite where we were originally planning it to go. We had, three people here, so if you feel like we've rambled a little bit, well, maybe sometimes we just need to do that, just to make you think. It's not about you got to know the difference between Milton Friedman and this person and all that. Sometimes it's just kind of the simplicity of, as Jared just said, loving him with all your heart, soul, and spirit, with everything that we have. I mean, that's worth it in life, because if we will do that, I find that that he will reveal that yes, he does have plans for us, plans for good, not for evil, to give us a future and a hope. It's all wrapped up in that relationship, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, next week, we're praying for, and I appreciate if those of you that are listening, we really would like to have Alex back in here. He's just gone through a lot of things in his life. And so I wouldn't say if you feel led, because if you need to feel led, grab a pencil and, rub your hands over it or something. How about joining us in prayer that
Yes,
Alex
because
would
I
be able to
can't be
come back?
the only introvert.
That's that's right.
I need help. I don't want to be the only one talking.
I need I need to be surrounded by at least two
I need
introverts in
Alex
my
to share the load.
life. Okay. Take care, Jared. Talk to you next
You
week.
too. See
Who
ya.
am I that you would know my name? What kind of love would walk through fire and meet me in the flame?